It is said that one who's connected to source energy is more powerful than millions who are not. And today we are here with somebody who embodied that, lived it, and is absolutely outstanding and has a great story to tell.
Right. Monica Iken Murphy. She followed the guidance like you would not believe. And we're just going to jump right in and let Monica, thanks for being with us. And we are really can't wait for you to share everything you want to share with everybody, your story and how it's progressed over the years from 9/11.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to tell my story because it's
And
so.
you are the founder, right, Monica? You're
Yeah,
the founder.
I founded September's Mission Foundation early on. I actually, when it happened, with losing, I spoke to Michael that day. He called me, and I was like, "Why are you calling me?" Because when you're in the bond business, you never talk to anyone until lunchtime or at the end of the day, because in the morning it's very busy. So he's calling me before 9, and I usually got up at 9 because I was out of work. I was looking for a teaching job, and he calls and he's like, put on the TV. I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm like, okay. So I put on the TV and I see this, gaping hole in the tower. And I'm like, which tower is that? And he said it was in the the first tower. And he said, they were saying a commuter plane hit the building. And he said, we have to stay where we are. Everything is under control. He was calm as a cucumber. I'm like watching the TV and he's talking to me. And it was like a disconnect because, there's this giant gaping hole. We didn't have, someone saying it was a jumbo jet. They said it was a commuter plane. So he said, everything is under control. I'll call you back. I'm like, okay. All I said was okay because I couldn't.
Yeah,
I wasn't
just couldn't
Process. Yeah, right.
I really was not able to wrap my brain around what I was seeing. So the next call, so he calls me like a few minutes later and he's like, call the family and friends. They keep calling. And he was like, we have to pay attention to what's going on. I'm like, okay. And he's like, the last thing he said to me, and he was calm, by the way, he was not freaking out. There was no panic because he thought they were fine because he was in tower 2. He's at 84th floor. He wasn't, they said, stay where you are. Everything's under control. And then the next thing he goes, people are jumping out of buildings. I have to go. And he hung up. And I'm like, so in my mind, I'm like, what? Because you're not seeing that on the TV. Right. So I ran out. This is when we actually had a phone with the cord. And I ran out to get the phone book to come back to the TV. And I have the phone book here, the phone here, because I'm going to dial because it had a cord, And I'm ready to, do my thing. Who am I calling first on this list? The next thing I see on the corner of my eye is this thing. And I'm like, what's that thing? Like, what is that? This jumbo jet. It's like I get chills just even talking about it.
Yeah.
Racing. I mean, I've never seen, I have to be honest. I was frozen in time. I was sitting I was like, I couldn't even do anything. I was like, did that just happen? Did I just see that?
How's that possible? Yeah.
It feels like it's surreal. So the next thing, I snap out of it because now it hit the building and I'm like, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to call him, right? Like ASAP. I'm like, so I'm trying to, everything's busy. And I'm like, obviously I didn't know where it hit at that point because you can't tell. So the next thing you're like, the whole United States is calling you and you're like, you don't even know what's going on because now you don't know where it hit. You don't know what's going on with him, with Michael, because he's not answering the phone. And then the whole day is, you're on pins and needles and you're watching the screen, waiting for someone to say something. And then we find out the first building was hit by a jumbo jet as well. And then of course it's Pentagon and then it was Shanks. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, it was just a moment in time where I'm like, is this really happening? Is this happening in New York?
We all were, but
yeah. I don't think there's anyone who forgets.
Saw it in real time. I think everybody was in shock. There was.
Yeah, right. Of course, we
You
all
never will
remember.
forget where you were at that moment.
Right. What?
I was home.
I'm
home.
just saying, any
No,
of us from that-
everybody. Everybody has a story. It's unbelievable. And I tell everybody needs to tell that story because that's what the museum is for.
Yes.
It's a big deal right now that 100 million children have been born after. And every story is important. You need to go there, tell your story, make sure it's documented. There's going to be a link for that. And, this is important for history purposes because everyone has that story.
Yeah.
Everyone has a story. It's unbelievable. So now the whole day I am waiting for someone to call me, and his best friend's wife called me and said, "Oh, he got out." This guy Kerry, his best friend. They did everything together. So of course I'm thinking, of all days, they're going to do that together. They're going to go together out of this building with a bunch of other people.
And they work together in the same office?
Yeah, they sat at the same desk. So there was a desk of 16, and he was one of the 16. So they did everything together. He had gotten the job with him there. So, they were frickin' frack for 2 years. So of course I'm thinking he got out if his friend got out. So the whole time that I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, oh, of course he's out. So they had went in the stairwell, not Michael, but his friend Kerry and some other people. And Michael stayed behind to help a woman named Susan who went under the desk. We found this out all later because they were trying to coerce her to move, and she wouldn't move. So they kind of stayed with her, not thinking anything's going to happen, like a building going to fall down. So his friend and a couple other people got out, and they were on the 50th floor when the plane hit. So he just thought he thought everybody was behind him. So he had no idea Michael and a few of the other people stayed behind. So in the desk of 16, 11 were killed because they stayed behind to help her. So, they didn't understand what was going on.
Of course.
And, I know they didn't suffer, so that's the good news. I mean, we found out later that it was carbon monoxide that went up and they fell asleep. So literally they didn't die, they went to sleep, and then the building obviously fell. So of course this whole time I'm optimistic he got out because Michael was athletic. He was only 37. He was very active. He's not one to, he played basketball every Monday night, with adults. So he was not one to be like, oh, I'm going to have an issue getting out. And the next thing you know, all day, nothing. So, that night, I'm waiting for him on the couch because I'm like, he's got to come home.
And you're sitting by yourself all day through
No. I had some friends. No, then I had my good friend come after work. People were coming after work.
Okay, but still, you're mostly
started coming after. So I was there with my best friend, and I was like, I'm going to sleep on the couch. I'm going to wait for him because we had a garden apartment in Riverdale, and I was like, oh, he's going to come. I know Michael. He's that guy. He probably just got, there was a lot of chaos. He probably got stuck. He didn't, yada yada. So if he's going to get home, he's coming home to me because that's how he was. So I waited on the couch, and then like at about 12 midnight, I'm going to get chills talking about this, but I get this thing and I have this vision and I'm in it and I'm opening the red door and I jump up on him and he's like, Monica, it's so beautiful here. And I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know I have chills. No, because this is going to go back to talking about, I met him on 9/11, 1999.
Oh.
He was an atheist. Let's clarify. He was an atheist. And we're sitting in the sawmill, like on the road. And he's like, well, by the way, Monica, I'm an atheist. I'm like, excuse me? This is not going to, we just started dating. I'm like, no. This is not acceptable because I've been talking to God since I'm a little girl. I'm a Catholic. I believe in God. I know my faith is strong. I cannot be with someone who's like an atheist. That's
right.
Negative. So I was like, that is not acceptable. So from that moment on, I said, I talked about God all the time. They were like, you two, I was 29 when I met him. He was 5 years older. So he was like 35, I was 29. They're like, the two of you talk about death and dying more than most humans. I was like, no, he has to know about God. He's
so interesting.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
He was so, because he was given up at birth by his mother. He was put in the foundling hospital. Then his wife cheated on him, went off with the doctor she became a doctor and went off with the doctor. So he had he had stuff going on where he felt God didn't do the right thing by him. And I explained, has nothing to do with God, nothing to do with him. Did not do that to you. And you have to believe me that God is important. You need to have faith. You cannot be an atheist. And he was always like, I'm going to die young. I'm going to die young. Well, if you think that, because I thought he was kidding. I said, if you think that, then you really need to believe in God because he's not going to let you in. I mean, his gates are not opening. I mean, it was like very clear that I may not know what I'm talking about, but I know things, and I know I almost died as a baby. I'm sure I was spoken to at that point because I feel things from that time period, even though I was
Wow.
only a couple of weeks old. But I know things, and I don't know how to. Not always do you have to be able to explain something. You just know that you know it. And I
Right,
said, listen.
right.
So from that moment, I was like, okay, here's what's going to happen. There was this thing that was talking about the lunchroom, and when you go to a median was talking about how you go to heaven, and there's a lunchroom, and then you could decide who to sit next to if you want to or not. And I was like, oh, no, 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 that's not acceptable. So I was running out to talk to Michael. I was like, Michael, listen, I watched this show. Did we go to this big lunchroom? Because I wanted to try to help facilitate his
Right.
mindset,
Yes.
Yeah.
that we go to a place, whatever the place is. And I said, listen, if you go to this lunchroom, you save me a seat in this lunchroom, whatever happens to you. So we practice on a regular basis. Michael, where are you going to meet me if something happens to you or happens to me in the
Wow.
lunchroom?
That's pretty wild.
So I did this all the time because he kept saying he was going to die young. And I was like, first of all, that's not happening all the time. So there is a book about that. So we'll get to that later.
Okay.
That someone else, another family member wrote, because there was so many people, like 200 people that we know of, that had premonitions that something was going to happen to them before even it happening in 9/11. And they were having feelings that they were not going to be here. So I would be like, no, Michael, you're young. You just turned 37. He's like, no, 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 I'm going to die young. I'm like, no, you're not going to die young. He was like, I'm going to come back at your black cat. I'm going to come back at the cat. Because this cat, I had a black cat. I love this cat. He's like, that cat is, I'm going to come back as the cat. I'm like, no, 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 you're not coming back as the cat. You're not dying young. All these things were happening. So I said, so what happens is his friend, we get an invitation in the mail, and it says December 1st wedding. I'm like, oh my God, I love weddings. I'm so excited. It's going to be a, winter wedding. It's his best friend, by the way. She's like, not going to be there.
Oh my God. Okay, wait. I just have to ask you, can I interrupt?
Yeah, sure.
He would say this to you. Did you ever once say, why do you think this? Do you have a feeling? Did you have a dream? Like, did he have any explanation?
I did. I am one to be questioning everything. So I was like, why do you keep saying you're going to die young? He's like, I don't know. I just feel it.
The invitation, when he said that to you, what did you say?
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about? Of course we're going to be there. That's December 1st. He's like, no, I'm not going to be here. I'm like, but he didn't explain that. So going back, the weekend before 9/11. So these are all things I figured out after the fact, obviously.
Right.
So on the weekend of 9/11, he loved to drive. He's like, let's go to Boston. I love Boston. And I'm like, sure. Road trips. We took a lot of them. So I was like, fine, let's go to Boston. That's the weekend before. We stayed in the Logan Hotel, and I'm taking pictures of the planes, because I love planes. I'm fascinated. I was watching them take off, taking pictures. And we were there Friday, then Saturday, and then Sunday morning, he was like, we have to leave now. I'm like, what? He wouldn't say. And the other thing is, he would not let me take one picture of him in Boston. I've had a million pictures of him. He's never had so many pictures taken. Thank God I have them. But he wouldn't let me take one picture of him in Boston.
Wow.
He got irate about leaving. I was like, oh, okay.
And you were asking him, what was he saying?
He couldn't. He was like, I have to get out of here right now. And I'm like, what happened? And he wouldn't say anything. He was just like, I have to get,
it's like the premonition with the plane or something.
think like something happened. So it gets worse. So we leave, and I don't know anything about they're hanging out in the airport a week before in Logan Airport. I don't know any of that stuff until later. So 9/10, my family friend gets hit by a cab, right?
Oh.
So I'm in Riverdale in the Bronx, and I have to go to Manhattan, and I'm going to see my mother. And I was also looking for a teaching job. So I'm in the apartment where I grew up, and I'm in 83rd Street. I'm ready to go into the apartment in the vestibule. And he calls me, and it's like about 3:00 in the afternoon. And he's yelling I'm like, okay, first of all, why are you yelling at me? I don't want you in the city. I said, listen, I have to go in the city tomorrow, which would have been 9/11. And see Gerhard, who happens to be in Lenox Hill. He's like, you are not going. I'm like, what? He's like, I'm like, it's Tuesday. It's nothing going on. Relax. I don't know why you're freaking out. He lost it. I'm like, listen, you cannot be yelling like that when other people are sitting around you and they're going to think you're crazy.
Yeah.
So he was animate. He was like, you cannot be in the city on 9/11. I'm like, huh? It's Tuesday. Relax. Calm down. I have to see him. He's in the hospital. I have to help my mother. Da, da, da. So, that was the end of that. And he said that was the night he played his basketball, at PS6. And that was the last time my mother saw him because he came by to say hi to her. I went to PS6 because we're on 83rd, that PS6 is on 81st. And then he said, I'll meet you at home. And I'm like, all right, I'll meet you home. So when he came in, that night, this is 9/10, he throws the sweaty socks at me. And I'm like, I played poopy. I didn't play well. I'm like, relax. You'll play fine next time. Something was brewing. It was like crazy.
Yeah.
And his birthday was 9/8, and he, it was a spiral effect from there, from the weekend before Labor Day and then his birthday. And then that night he's like, I think I'm going to die young. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, where is this coming from? He's just like, I don't know. I don't know. And I get chills talking about this because I was like, no, we have a whole life together. We're trying to get pregnant. Hello, we have a job to do here. We had just gotten married. We were married 11 months. I'm like, we were trying all the time to get pregnant. That's a whole nother story. So I'm like, hello, what are you talking? Like, he just couldn't answer the question. He was just like, I just don't know. I don't understand. I just don't feel like I'm going to be here. And then the next thing you know, he's gone. Like, how did that happen? So backtracking, there's 200 people that, have the same stories where people were having these feelings that they're not going to be here. Like Labor Day weekend was a very pivotal time for like 200 of these souls. I mean, one example is my friend's daughter, her stepdaughter, drew planes going into the towers and had it in her drawer in her bedroom.
Oh, God.
Okay, where did that come from? You know what I mean? She literally had 2 planes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we get it. We're
aimed at the towers and is gone. So it just makes no sense, like how these 200 souls. So I told my friend who lost her husband, had 4 children, Bonnie McNamara, and I said, listen, I don't have time to do this because I was working on, that was the pivotal year, 2004 and 5, where I was in the memorial process, like crazy lady. So, and making sure that was happening, and I was busy. So I told her, you need to get this. I'll help you get the people. You should write this book. It's on Amazon. It's 200 messages from 9/11. It's powerful. 200 people saying the same story, but in different capacity. Like all like Labor Day weekend, they're having all these premonitions. Like, how did that happen? Like these souls.
I don't know. It's a collective
Because
soul
the
thing,
energy,
right?
The
Yeah.
energy was so tremendous about it. It was so heavy that it was coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
The energy was just coming in.
The energy was definitely like they just knew.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was like this, and then some of them were, so what Michael was doing was he was manifesting it on me. He was so paranoid something was going to happen to me.
Right.
That was the time in 99 when the brick guy was in the trains hitting the women with the bricks.
Oh.
So it was a lot of like stuff like that. He was like, you are not to take the subway. Meanwhile, I take the subway all the time. That's, I live in Manhattan. I take the subway. I've been doing this my whole life. So he was like, no, you are not to take the subway. I will send a car for you. I will pick you up. Oh, no. He was animate. There was no going around that. So it was like one time I took the train. I'm like, oh my God, if something happens to me sometime. I'm going to be a dead chicken. Like I was like so scared. I was never scared to take the train. All of a sudden I'm like, and I had to sneak it one time because they couldn't get another way, whatever. So it was funny. It was like paranoid now to take a train when I was never paranoid. He projected that onto me because it was on him.
Yeah.
Because he was feeling it and he didn't know what to do with it.
Some strange knowing,
Yeah, it's like he knew something was happening, but he couldn't. So then he put it on me. So then get this too. I get a job, right? I get a first grade job right before 9/11, August. Let's just do this. And I'm like, I accepted the first grade job. It's in the South Bronx where I taught before. He was like, Monica, he would always say that, Monica, I need to see where this job is. I need to see the location. I'm like, uh-oh. Because it's in the South Bronx. It's like Dominican flags and Puerto Rican flags out the window. Oh, no. So he's like, no. We're going to take a drive. And I'm like, okay.
Ah,
Oh, that lasted about 10 seconds. So we take the drive. He was like, no, negative. You are not working here. There is no way I'm going to work and you're going to work here and I have to work out you. No way. Yeah, absolutely no. I was like, excuse me? You just, I'm like, I just got a job. JOB.
right.
You know that thing, teaching
Yeah,
job?
yeah.
He's like, no, sorry, not gonna happen. You have to go in and say no. After I already said yes, I had to go back and say no.
So we just wanted to talk a little bit about an exciting event that we have. And if you're local, it is in New Jersey, in Bergen County and Ridgewood.
You can certainly fly in if you'd like to.
Yes,
because-
please fly in. But it's Sunday, March 23rd. And we are going to have a panel of intuitives that are world renowned, also healers and mediums.
And
yeah.
mediums, and all of which who have been guests on our podcast.
Yes.
So you've had a chance to get to know them, hear about them.
Or you can certainly go back and listen to
Check
their
it out.
podcast. But we have some really great people, and they are there to talk about the power of intention, which is our title this time, and give their different perspectives on that. And we'll probably jump in with that too,
We always do.
because we like to.
But they will
Yes.
answer your questions, and the really cool thing is you're going to get guidance from more than one
Yes.
intuitive, right? So
At least two, if not
Yeah.
all the panelists
Yeah.
jump in, because
Sounds
they
like-
can't control themselves, honestly. But that's okay.
And even when you're not called on, somehow miraculously your questions are answered. It's an
Yes.
incredible vibration.
Yeah, it's a great energy in the
and-
room. It will raise your vibration
Yeah.
and your frequency just by being there.
Yeah.
But if you have questions, you're seeking clarity, or just anything you want to know about in any aspect of your life, right? Relationships, love, career.
We never know what's going to happen,
anything.
but it's always amazing.
Right. Just come with your questions and look forward to getting them answered by our amazing panelists.
And please remember to subscribe below and like us so that we can continue to bring you incredible guests. And
Thank you for listening.
thank you for listening.
Oh yeah, no, he was adamant. No, there was no way. He was like, no way. But see, this was his manifestation,
Yeah.
not mine. I was going to be safe at that school.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yes.
See, he wasn't safe at his job. So he thought I was
Right,
safe
he
at this
projected
job. You see how he put it on me? He was manifesting his own paranoia onto me, thinking something was going to happen to me. And I thank God every day nothing happened to me, because if it did, he would have committed suicide, and that would have been a nightmare, because some people did that too. He was attached to me at the hip, like literally Velcro. Like when he was home, I had to be with him at all times. He could not. The only peace I got was when he went to the bathroom.
Wow.
Like the running water. So it was fascinating that Michael Arad and I did all his work with the memorial, and running water is totally perfect, because that was Michael's sanctuary, like going to the bathroom.
Tell us like how you got to, like you said, you got messages that night, like you were.
So the night of 9/11.
Yeah. Was that what you were saying?
Well, when I just knew, he said, when I saw him in the dream and I jumped up on him,
Yeah.
it was so real. If I can't even talk without the things, like my hair going down. And I literally, he was like whispered in my ear, "It's so beautiful here. You're so right. It's so beautiful here." I'm like, really? That's what you're going to do to me? But of course, this is a dream. The next day we go onto Metro North. As soon as they open at 7 a.m., whatever the time was, we go with my best friend and his best friend, Kevin, the one who's supposed to be married in December. And we take the Metro North and we go to Grand Central, right? And it's like, there's nobody there. There's not a human, not a car, nothing. We're like, we have entered the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
We're like, we're looking around, but like, there's nobody here. So, it was literally 9:12. There was nobody around. Like, nobody was in anywhere. So we're like, are we sure we're not like in another planet? Like, it was so surreal again.
Yeah.
So we finally go down, because we're going to start looking at hospitals. We're thinking he's a John Doe at that point. We thought he got out. I'm still holding out hope, even though deep down I knew he wasn't here, because I felt him. Like when you feel someone, We were very connected. So I knew he wasn't here, but I was like, I have to do it anyway, because, for peace of mind.
Yeah.
So he's a John Doe, obviously. He could have gotten hit in the head. So we went to the hospitals, and we were one of the first people to do the missing report, get the number. Everybody has a number, of their loved one. So then the next thing you know, the media is out. Like, it is, people start coming, the media, they come into these locations, hospitals. And I am mortified because I'm like, I don't want anyone to know my story. Like, I don't want anyone to know anything about this. So, then I have friends coming, and they're like, I'm like, can you just show the picture? I was like, take it, because they said bring a picture. And I was like, first of all, I had to find one with him by himself, which was really hard because we have pictures together all the time. So I'm like, I don't even have one. I had found one random one that he was sitting in a boat, thank God, because I didn't have any. So I said, can you just show this picture? Because I don't want to do it. Like, I didn't want anyone to know my story. I wasn't prepared for this. So she was like, no, you have to do it. You're his wife. I'm like mortified though. Like, I am just not well. I'm like holding this picture. And like the next thing you know, 9/13, that's on the cover of Newsday. I thought I was going to die.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh yeah, that was lovely. If you, in my documentary, there's a picture of that. Oh, no.
Okay.
So I don't know about this because Newsday, I didn't get the paper in Riverdale that day, whatever, because it's 9/13. My mother is a paper person. She goes to the newsstand and like sees he plastered on the cover of this paper. She almost had a heart attack. So the guy gives her the whole stack of papers because she didn't want them there either. She took,
Oh my God.
I have a whole stack of, the guy was so nice. She was like, oh my God, that's my daughter. I can't. She took the whole thing and she literally took off the shot. She was horrified because it was such a disconnect that this was not really happening to us. Because we still kind of had this like hope that of course he's alive, So, I mean, from that moment on, it was like pure torture because I'm like, oh my God, like, how is this my nightmare now? How did this happen? Like,
Right.
so the next thing you know, I'm not eating. Obviously, I'm not functioning. I'm not sleeping well. So I have family and friends in the apartment with me at all times, sleeping with me, making sure I'm alive. So I go, they're like, Monica, you need to lie down. You need to rest. And I'm like, no. They're like, no, you need, because I'm like a news junkie. I'm watching the news because I'm like trying to see what's going on, like rescue recovery, So anyone, maybe someone heard his name, someone saw him, So the next thing you know, they're like, go lie down. I'm like, all right, fine. So I go into the bedroom to lie down. I'm like, all right. And everybody's in the living room. And this thing, like a script, I'll never forget it, comes down like, I'm like, okay, what's that? I'm like, now I'm delirious now. Okay, I haven't been eating, so maybe I'm delirious. I'm seeing things now.
Yeah.
That's hallucinating. No, it literally comes down. It's like, you're going on a mission and you're not going to let them build up a deputy. I'm like, excuse me. I'm like looking at the thing. There's nothing there. I'm like, no, what? I'm not going on any mission. I'm talking to myself now because so the next thing you know, I'm like, you're going on a mission. You're not going to let them build over dead people and da-da-da-da. I'm like, okay. No, not really. Okay. So now I'm like, whatever. I get up, I go down to the living room. I'm like, all right, guys, I'm going on a mission. I'm not going to let them build over dead people. They're like, Monica, have you lost your mind? At that time, it was 30,000 people, they thought. Right. That was on the post. I was like, I don't know what to tell you. God said I have to go on a mission. I don't know what to, I don't know. They were like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm just not going to let them build all the dead people. I mean, as long as they walk the planet, I just won't let
details in that script.
They're like, huh? How are you going to do that? I said, I don't know. God told me I have to do it. I don't know. I'm just listening. I don't know. I was just like, that's what he told me to do. So it was funny because I swear the next thing that happened was I didn't ever call the media, never, because I was mortified. They made me go up there. And then they had the missing poster. So I had my wedding invitations that actually I had to redo the thank yous because they weren't the right coloring. So I put those all over the place. And the media called you. So that was how I became. So I just spewed out, as long as I'm here, they're not building over dead people. A lot of us don't have our loved ones. And we're like, what do you mean you're going to build over dead people? So that became a soundbite, and that spewed out ASAP. And then from that moment on, everyone came out of the woodwork to help me.
Really? Okay.
Every angel that you could think of helped me put my foundation together. I had my 501c3 by Dewey Valentine back in the day. They all, like every single human that you think, then they weren't paid. They did it because they did it for the right reasons.
Yeah,
and
right
they
reason.
believed that I could do it. I did not know what I was doing because I was not well. So I was just, I was a vessel.
Yeah.
I watched.
Were you getting messages like of what to do next all along, or were you just
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened was I would go and speak, like do my thing. And it was just, I don't know. It was like, I don't know how it happened.
coming through you? It was like channel stuff.
It was like I was a vessel. God said, okay, you're like the Holy Spirit is going in you. And I was spewing out. I didn't know who I watched videos of myself. I'm like, you go, girl. I don't know who you are. You go.
Yeah.
I look at I'm like, I don't even know who I am. I was like,
Wow.
like, I am so not that. I'm an educator. I was teaching in the public schools. I like children. I'm not one to be on. If I wanted to be in media, I would have been in it,
Yeah.
And I'm talking like a professional. I'm like, what happened? I had really good, I had a good consultant, but those are all people God sent to me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They came out of nowhere. I went to an event with my sister in DC, the Best Buddies event, which is the Kennedy and Shrivers. And she's a photographer. She's living there. She's working for the WashingtonPost.com because it was the .com era. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, this is literally a month later. So I am like size 0. I look, I don't.
Yeah.
So I said, listen to me. Whatever you do, I will go, but do not say one word about 9. I don't want anyone to know my business. They'll just think I'm your assistant. I'm helping you. Yeah. She's the photographer. So yeah, we go. It was funny. So we go and we're like, do. And we went to the wrong room, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's on the exercise bike with his little boxers. And we're like, oh, I think we went the wrong way. So it was hysterical. So, I mean, we met him later. We didn't realize, we're like, oh. So the next thing you know, Maria Shriver does this thing it's called Best Buddies, where she gets people with mental challenges to work in corporate environments and, get to help them. And she's still doing it to this day. So we go sit at the table. Now it's 10, out in the tent is like table of 10. And I'm like minding my business. She's going to go take these pictures. I'm sitting at the table, minding my business, not saying one word. I'm like, because I want to be, in the shadows. So all of a sudden people like sending stuff to the table, and I'm like, what's going on? Like this champagne comes, this other, like people are just doing weird things. So next thing you know, my sister comes back. They're like, Monica, they want to know who you are because you're glowing. Oh. And I'm like, excuse me? Who's glowing? They're like, no, I get chills. She's like, they keep saying there's something about you, you're glowing, and they need to know who you are. I'm like, no, they don't need to know anything. I'm like, after this big thing, like, are you crazy? I was mortified. I'm taking the thing. I'm like, and she's like, no, they're like serious. They're like, they're stopping me, and they're wanting to know who you are. And I'm sitting all by myself. Like, it wasn't even so craziness. That's how I got my September's mission started, by the person who is a .com person, Becky. She saw me. She said, there's something about you. I want to help you. And I had no idea what was happening because I was kind of like, I was not well. So then I'm sitting at the table with the guy with the Sequoia yacht, who's going to become influential in doing the Sequoia yacht event that is on my documentary, where 3 years later, I'm like saying, we're going to make this happen. And I had all these presidential people come, and, it was just, all these amazing things happen.
Yeah, it's just lined up, right? It's just.
I think that's because that's how God wanted it.
Of course.
I didn't those people.
That's right. You had a mission.
God has a plan.
Accepted, and
you're gonna not do it. Okay, good luck with that. I tried. I was like, I'm not doing it. No. Every time I'd be like, it was too much. Right. I was like, I can't take it. It was a lot. I was dealing with a lot of things, and it was, it wasn't really fun. Family members were not so nice. So, they wanted to be the memorial people when I was doing it. Oh, Monica knows nothing. She doesn't know what she's doing. Meanwhile, I knew exactly what I was doing. I was doing all my homework. I was in DC. I was learning about how memorials are done. I didn't know anything about memorials either. All I knew is God told me to do something, I'm doing it. And he sent me the people to help direct me and to make it happen.
Amazing.
And he made it. And he totally did it. He created that memorial and he
That
used
is
me.
great.
And it's absolutely spectacular. It really is just
Yeah.
so well done.
And people didn't like that either. So just so you know, like there are a lot of people that didn't like that memorial. I mean,
Oh,
crazy. People, you know, when you're dealing with a lot of people, I mean, we were dealing with lots of, everybody was like, Monica, it's never going to happen. I'm like, okay. I like the word no. Everybody was telling me no, because all I was dealing with was men and developers and da 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 da. And I'm like, all they want to do is take you to lunch and send you jewelry and buy you things and take you out. And I'm like, excuse me, I don't got time for this. I have a job to do, you know, like, and it was just like, no, it's not happening. And God, you know, God is good. They're pretty much with God now. They're probably like, I should have listened to her. So a lot of them are not here anymore. But the reality is, I'm here because I'm here for a purpose, right? So God made it very clear that this is your job, and when the time comes, you're going to know what it is. And
did your husband, was he giving you messages from the other side too, or?
Oh, Michael communicates all the time. He's a little show
Right.
off. He likes to, he sends me more signs than most humans. And he started with Megan. Like he, you know, even, you know, when I was doing my stuff before I had children, my girls after, I was like always getting little signs from him. He had came once, he follows me. So I had a dream once and he was in the dream, right? So he doesn't like dreams. He likes to make sure he's presenting himself. So one time I was in the mirror and he was behind me. I could see his face and everything.
Oh.
Then I moved from Riverdale finally to Manhattan, back to my roots, because I was doing so much work downtown and that was a better place for me. So convenience. And I said, Michael, you need to come with me, because now I had this fear he was going to be at the in the other apartment, you know, like he was always around. And now I was like, and he was my cat too for a while. I was like, you got to get out of the cat. I can't handle that. So we got out of the cat. The cat was doing weird things. I was like, okay, this is not acceptable. The cat never did this before. Like, I was doing all these, and I've heard that they could do that. I'm like, no, this is get out of the cat. Whatever you do, get out of this cat. Do something else. So I go and move into this other apartment on 62nd Street, and I swear I'm sleeping. I sit up. He is literally at the edge of the bed. I get chills. There's this thing. He's totally there. Like, I saw everything. And then I was like, thank you for coming. And he, gone. He was literally standing.
Wow.
100%. Because from that time, like, and we'd always get signs. I mean, I would have toys from the kids, the girls, and they were off. And they would be on. How is that possible?
Sure. They're moving the energy. Yeah.
Like they were moving around. He likes to play games. He's funny. And we'd be like, all right, I'm getting rid of that toy because that thing moved without having batteries in it. So, you know, he would do that. And then when Megan was about 2, when she started talking, it was probably 3 actually. She talked late, but she would be like, oh, Michael wants to tell you he loves you. I'm like, excuse me?
Oh boy.
Whoa.
I had no idea who he was, because I was doing my work, but they were too little. I was always doing my things.
Yeah,
they were like, you know, so they didn't understand Michael at that time. So she would just be like, well, Michael wants to know who you're going to choose in the lunchroom. I'm like, excuse me?
Oh, wow.
She's like, oh, are you going to choose daddy or him? Look,
oh my God.
She would just spew this out. I'm like, excuse me? And then,
Wow.
so of course I'm like, oh my God, Michael's totally talking to my child. And she would just say his name. Oh, Michael wants to know. Da, da, da. So then this gets funny. So now she's like 4, and we're in the car, and she's, you know, I have a 6. There's 2 years apart, so I have a 6-year-old who's not being communicated to, and the 4-year-old. So she's in the back of the car, you know, in her little seat, and it's coming up to my birthday, and she's like, oh, Michael wants to tell you happy birthday. He loves you. He brought you the sun, because I was always about the sun, and I'm like, and you know. Bob's driving.
I've had that experience. Like,
I'm like
driving. Like,
and we're like, so I said to her, like, later on, I said, Megan, when Michael decides to communicate to you, you know, can you just tell me in private, maybe not in front of Dad? I don't know.
all right.
Appreciates the how much he loves me still, you know, and all that. It was crazy, but you know, he was totally, and then, you know, after it's usually till 6. So then in her dreams he would come. He likes to talk to her, and she's very spiritual, so she gets it. And he always, he was supposed to take his last sailing class. He was so excited. He was going to get his certificate. He has little sailing shoes on. We had went in August. He was so excited about it. And that day, of course, he did not get it. We got it, fast forward, we got it for his 40th to make sure that he completed his mission on the same sailing ship and had a birthday celebration in his honor. So we solidified his 9/11 thing. But he was so excited and he didn't get to do it. So I get white sailboats all the time.
Wow.
And Megan gets them. I could be in Iceland. Let me use that one. And I'm at the window and and it's Iceland, it's freezing, by the way. So I'm like, nothing's gonna happen here. I'm standing, I get called to the window and I'll be at the window and this I'm like, am I like seeing that's a sailboat in the, it literally comes out of nowhere. I could be anywhere in the world.
Wow.
Paris, Berlin, anywhere, and there's a white sailboat. And if it's not in the water, it's where I'm at. I could be anywhere. And I always see a white sailboat, like all the time. And I've documented it because I've seen it so much. So that he always sends me a white sailboat. Like
I wonder if what you're going to do next has anything to do with the white sailboat, or has he given you any direction? For what's next? Do you think there's for you?
I'm helping Surfside with their memorial process. I think, God just has me doing whatever work he wants me to do. Sometimes he gives me a lot of work and I'm like, did I not do enough work? But Michael is actually, I feel like his job, and I'm pretty clear about this, is that he's to take care of my girls.
Oh,
I feel that I was M&M with him. They're M&Ms as well because they're Murphys. So, I'm very clear. Your job is to take care of them. I mean, I know he's with me all the time, so I'm not worried about where he is, but take care of the girls. That's more important. I'm going to do what God wants me to do, which I'm doing. But if I talk to him and I tell him to do something, he does it. Like he bought me, for example, a necklace with a heart, and the heart fell off. The necklace fell off. The heart was gone. I'm like, where did that go? And I'll be like, Michael, because I'm in his car, the Volvo that I had. And I'm like, Michael, help me find this thing. This is important. This is like sentimental. So all of a sudden I'll hear something go, look under the mat of the car, in the driver's seat. And there it was. So I'll ask him questions. Like when I met Bob, I'll say, do you want me to be with Bob? What is it about Bob? Because we communicate. So I meet Bob's family for the second time on Thanksgiving. We had just met. And Michael says the night before, it comes to me and says, look for a picture, look for a baby picture of Bob. And I'm like, what? So I'm finding this really strange now. So they're only meeting me the second time. So I go to the house, there's a big family. He's one of 3, he's the baby. And we're sitting at the table and I'm waiting, let them drink a little bit because they might think I'm crazy. So at the end of the evening, I'm like, oh, do you happen to have any like baby pictures of Bob? And they're like, well, he was the baby. He's one of 3 boys. And so his middle brother, Steve, goes, oh, let me look right here. So he opens this thing, takes out one album, and the only picture in it is his birth picture. Guess how many pounds he was?
How many?
9/11.
Oh.
So, and I swear to you, I can ask.
Okay.
I can ask Michael.
Wow. Incredible.
I can ask Michael.
We're going to have you back on
Yeah,
another time. This is amazing. Yeah.
I have a million stories. I could be here forever. That's what I was saying, because there's so many.
Right.
And,
Well, just
anytime.
when do you think your book's going to be coming out? That year?
Well, I'm hoping for the 25th, because
Right.
25th anniversary. So I have, but it sounds easy to do, but it's not. It's like this.
Sure, it's not. No, it does not.
I feel a lot of pressure. I'll probably get it done but the good news is I have this other book that I worked with David Margulies, the picture book, and I have a chapter in it, and it's tied into September's mission, From Dusk Till Dawn. We want to try to get into the the schools, because I think it's very
Oh, that's
important.
amazing. Yeah.
Educational, because we're working on that component.
I have no doubt that you will actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like since I have something in Amazon under September's Mission,
Mhm.
the good news is I just write the book and they can publish it and someone can buy it, take it over later. You know what I mean? I don't have the stress of like having to get a publisher.
Yeah, do all that.
And I think it's going to be, I'll have a component of it with the spirituality and God. And I think that's important because I think people really have to realize that if you communicate with him, he communicates with you, and they communicate. The souls will.
Yeah.
I'll talk to.
They're all around us all the time, and we just.
They are. They're literally right here.
We believe that wholeheartedly.
100%. I mean, they make it known too. I'll probably get a sign. Someone will say Michael or something later. Something will.
Yes, right. Thanks for talking about me.
Yeah, and also, to be honest, another example, the book of the 200 Souls that in Messages by Bonnie McNamara. So I read it, and one of the guys who died was Jimmy, and he attached himself to me. So I get chills. I have more dimes than God because his thing is dimes. I can find a dime in any. I found and Megan too, because she's now me, so she gets the same thing. She's like, Mom, I was walking down the stairs in the school and there was a dime, and she'll be like, I was here, and they were in the weirdest places. I can open something and there's a dime falls out. I can go in a room and there's no dime, and then there's a dime.
Wow.
It happens all the time. So I've documented
Very
that.
connected,
So I have
for
a whole
sure.
thing of dimes. I have more dimes than most humans. I have to save them.
That's good. You see?
You have to save them. Did you know that when you find that's
No, I didn't know that. Actually,
save it.
So,
if they go into the thing every time I find one.
Oh,
I have. It
really
is
do.
fascinating. So outside souls can attach.
Well, Monica, thank you so much
This
for
was wonderful.
for sharing this is amazing story. I mean, I kind of knew it a little bit, but not to this extent.
No, you're incredible. You're incredible.
Yeah.
And
Keep on doing the mission.
God is good. That is the most. That's the mission. Follow God, and good things will happen. And he also takes good care of you.
Absolutely.
Beautiful message.
That's a perfect way to end it. Thanks again.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
God so.
bye.
Bye.
See you next time.